Bridge to Terabithia is the story of two young friends and the journey through their relationship. Set in rural America near Washington, Jesse Aarons encounters a friendship he never expected and one that will change him forever. Leslie Burke is educated and different from anyone in town. Through their friendship, the two encourage each other to be themselves. When tragedy strikes, the lives of each character changes forever, and the impact of their friendship becomes clear.
What do you guys like most about Jesse and Leslie's friendship?
I love how real it is. It's like, I've never had a friendship like that, though. I've never had a lifelong, well, it wasn't even lifelong, but
You said that deep connection.
Coming of age.
Yes, coming of age connection, yes.
But I think, too, that it almost, even though I saw it like you saw it, but they didn't see it like that.
No, not at all. To them it was just
they didn't. I don't think they really appreciated what they
I think
had.
that's something that the older you get, the more you appreciate, because my connection to Jesse and Leslie is that I have a friend who's also a boy who I've been friends with since we were born. So I really connected with both the characters in that way.
I just like how different they were, and yet they had all these common, and they brought out the best in each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Jesse became Jesse or Jess until Leslie was there.
Right.
And Leslie wasn't Leslie unless Jess was there.
I don't know. I feel like Jess or Leslie would always would be a good person, whatever. But this was like the best friend she ever had because people just didn't understand her.
Really understand her. And I don't think Jesse felt comfortable being Jess
Until he met her.
Until he met. Yeah.
Yeah, she really got him out of his shell.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end of the book when he talks about how he can wants to draw and he's proud of it and he wants Leslie to be proud of her after she died and he feels confident in that, whereas in the beginning of the book he wouldn't even.
He wouldn't have been confident.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: she dies.
So what can we learn about friendship from this book that we could bring into our classroom or teach?
Well, what I got was open yourself up to different people and become friends with. Try being friends with somebody that's different from you because they could really teach you something. And I really feel like because he opened himself up to her, he really grew as a person, and that's great.
That's what I think too. Is it teaches you that no matter, you need to be yourself, and somebody will like you for who you are. Just be yourself. And I think with the grade or the age that this book is written for, that is important to remember that you need to be yourself when you're a kid. You don't need to
Embrace it.
Yeah.
And being different, I like it because they talk about being different is kind of cool because you can find another friend or find someone who's different too, and they can open you up to new experiences and make you.
Well, and the
like
part
your
too
differentness.
when they, Janice, when Leslie opened up to Janice about in the bathroom, that one scene, it was also reiterates inviting others that you would not normally
Even the people
invite
who have
in.
bullied you.
Well, and it also can teach would teach the lesson that everyone has something
Something,
that
exactly.
they're dealing with.
So you have to forgive
And,
them.
and everyone has something that makes them,
Look past
that
it.
motivates them to make the choices that they make.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's important to understand it.
My next question kind of deals with the whole Janice and bullying scenario, but I said that it's clear that both Jesse and Jess and Leslie are different than the other kids at school. What do you think? Why do you think kids make fun of other kids who are different? And what can we do as teachers to help this bullying epidemic?
Well, I think the basic reason kids make fun of other people is because they have something that makes them insecure. I mean, everybody has that, whether you're a bully or not a bully. You have things that make you insecure, and so the easiest way to make you feel better is to
Bully somebody else before you can get hurt.
before they hurt
somebody
you,
else.
let you hurt first. And I think the kids who are bullied are more insecure with whatever they have going on, or there's something motivating them to take it that next step. So I think it's just important that we have to look for the underlying reason to ask the questions and not just discipline all the time, but look further into what is motivating those choices.
think something in my classroom that I want to do is celebrate the differences and talk about, be proud of those instead of, like try to hide them. And I think that will hopefully bring community to the classroom and everyone to try to not make fun of other people for being different instead of just celebrate that. That's what's so cool about you is that this is what's unique about yourself and, and not different like how Leslie and Jess were. So.
I think, especially in a character like Janice Avery, once we found out that she was being beaten at home, why wouldn't she beat on other kids?
Of course she would.
Yeah,
that's all she's
that's
learned.
the only power she has. She has absolutely no power at home, and so she gets her power at school. And so it's really, I used to be a social worker, so I think it's really important to ask those questions and to think past the behavior and try to find out what's motivating it more than anything.
I do too. So my next question is that some critics have suggested that the book is inappropriate for children because it describes death, a topic that some children might not be able to handle. In your own opinion, do you think Bridge to Terabithia is an appropriate book for kids in your classroom to read? And how might reading about Jess's loss help students who have to face their own loss someday?
Absolutely. I think it's because it touches on so many different aspects, and a lot of adults feel like kids can't handle it, but they have to handle it, whether or not they want to. Children do have to handle it at some point in their life. So I think teaching them to avoid it or be afraid of it hinders them in the future. So I think even just touching on it and saying this is what it is, this is how it can affect you and how it can affect family or friends is important, especially at that age, because they might not know how to channel emotions or whatever.
And I think what is really clear with Jess is that he needed to talk about it, about the death. And I think that is what I took from it, is something that you can really bring up with your kids, is that, it's okay to feel angry or sad, but, just to acknowledge that those feelings are there and talk about it.
Well, I'm a really sensitive person, and I don't really like sad stuff, so I actually but I like this story. It was really upsetting to me for a lot of reasons, and so I think it's just because I love Leslie so much. And so I found out why she actually wrote the book. Do you guys know? Because her son, when he was 8, his best friend was electrocuted, and so she had to make she was saying she had to make sense of something to her 8-year-old that didn't make sense, and so she thought, I'll write a book. And so I thought that was really interesting, and it made me really relate to the book so much differently, because when I was younger, well, I guess high school, when I was a freshman, one of my best friends died just from a cold, and her heart just stopped. And it was one of those times where it was like the first person in my life, other than my great-grandfather, that ever lost anybody, and I didn't really understand how to deal with it, and I didn't really deal with it until her funeral, and I just lost it. And I can understand as a kid just being so, it doesn't feel real, and you just don't really believe it. That's why when he was like running around, he thought he heard, like, that just really touched me, because it just made it very real. Even though they made up this world of Terabithia, what they dealt with was so real. And so at first I thought it was a little heavy, but I think it's good. I think this is a good book to have in the classroom.
Well, I think she does such a good job of taking the loss and letting you understand, or letting Jess understand how it affected everybody.
Yeah.
And, because he saw the people in the golden room, and he saw Leslie's dad, and even in his own family. The girls that weren't, they're changed, and the teacher, her name is Miss Myers. She's the meanest teacher in the world, but after that, she really cared for Leslie. And I think it also does a good job of going through those emotions that you were talking about. Because he went to bed that night, and he was like, no, this isn't true. Woke up the next morning and had all those pancakes, remember? And so he didn't go immediately to sadness. He went through several different emotions, and then he hit Mayville. So, which he would never do.
Never have done.
So I think she does a really good job of saying, this affects everyone. A loss like this goes everywhere, and it's okay to go through
It's okay
all
to
of these different emotions to deal with